Promised I have a political video for you, but this is a political video about video games. Specifically, why publishers have to add lots of extra things to games to sell to you. Now, those so-called video gamers, or as I like to call them, gamers, they say it's because these companies are greedy, which is true. But that is greatly simplifying why they're doing it. Over time, the high budget games, their budgets have grown significantly faster than the money they can get back from just selling just the game by itself. So they have no choice but to add all this extra crap to the game. They have no choice but to add cosmetics and loot boxes and all these other things. Because if they don't, they can't make a profit off of the game. It would be impossible. And eventually they're not going to even be able to make a profit with all these extra things in it. Because the cost of developing those things goes up. That's why loot boxes are so great for them, because the cost of a loot box doesn't actually increase over time. And they can throw whatever they feel like in there, and you could buy a billion loot boxes and get absolutely nothing out of it. So they produce nothing, and yet you give them tons of money for it. Now, regardless of what they do, the cost of making these high budget games is going to increase faster and faster and faster. And you've got the cost of wages to the developers, wages to the people at the publisher, the cost of licensing all the different technologies for making a game, the cost of all the buildings to put people in, the cost of everything you're putting into the buildings. All this stuff is constantly increasing, and that increases faster than the ability to make profit. Now, in the end, they can stuff 1 billion microtransactions in video games. And no matter what they do, they're going to eventually reach zero profit. There's this nice thing called how the rate of profit over time falls. It's a tendency, the rate of profit over time to fall. You can reset it with, say, an economic crash. And what happens is the people with money, they buy all the stuff that people without money, they lose, like your houses. The people with money, they buy all the foreclosed houses. Oh, now they got this thing that's going to increase in price over time. And then they can either sell it, or far more likely is that they would rent it out. However, when it resets, when the rate of profit resets higher, it doesn't go back to the original amount. It's lower than the original amount. So each time this happens, rate of profit goes down. Eventually, it's going to hit zero. And this isn't just video games. It's everything. So the next time you see a loot box in a video game, say, okay, they're only doing that because eventually they're not going to be able to make profit. And you got to think, what happens then? What happens when there is no more profit to be had? Did you enjoy my rambling video? I didn't. I want to make videos about Todd.